You're listening to The Lyndia Grant Show. Think on these things with Lyndia Grant.
Well, good evening, Radio 1 listeners. It's good to be here with you again this afternoon. Thank you for tuning in to The Lyndia Grant Show. We're here every Friday at 6 p.m. on the country's oldest gospel station, Spirit 1340 WYCB, founded more than 40 years ago. Today is Friday, November the 11th, 2022, and we are here celebrating Veterans Day weekend. We have two exciting guests today. One is going to be Dr. Julianne Malvo. I'm so glad she was able to be back with us today. And we're going to be talking to the Honorable former D.C. Council member and founder of the African American Civil War Memorial and Museum, Dr. Frank Smith. He's going to be talking to us because today is Veterans Day. So this is our Veterans Day show. I'm going to go ahead and talk to Dr. Julianne because I understand Dr. Smith was on the line and she's got to get him back on. So we're going to go ahead and go to you, Dr. Julianne. How are you?
I am wonderful, blessed, and highly favored, and I know you are as well. And you couldn't have a better person on for Veterans Day than Frank Smith. He really has done the work around those who've been in Civil War. Those are veterans we often don't recognize.
Mm-hmm. That's right. So go ahead and talk to us. Oh, Dr. Smith, you there? Hi, Dr. Smith.
Yes, I am. Okay, how you doing?
All right. Dr. Julianne was just complimenting that you are our guest today.
Yeah, well, Dr. Julianne, how you doing?
I'm great, and how are you?
I'm all right. You in the state, still in the great state of California?
Well, right this minute, I'm in D.C. I came in to do some election work, rolling, and I still vote in the District of Columbia, so I came to vote, and, you know, because I sell property here. I'm a voter here. Okay. And you know, thank you, though, for what you do to lift up the Civil War and the black folks who served in that war, fighting for us who don't always get the recognition they deserve.
Yeah. Well, you know, I heard an awful lot during this campaign about how this country might be headed toward a second Civil War. And we'll talk about how one side was up against the other. They even in those conversations, they didn't give African Americans enough credit for us entering that war on the side with President Lincoln to help bring it to an end which preserved this country as one nation under God, but also got rid of slavery.
Well, all right. Yeah, but try to get, aren't we? But anyway, Frank, I adore and appreciate you. And walked by the memorial today. Took Metro and walked by. Coming back from somewhere and had to together.
That was nice.
Right on. But Lyndia puts me on a tight leash. I got my little few minutes, and then she cuts me off. She starts playing music. I know that's it. So let me jump right to it. And, you know, what's the news? The news, of course, is the election. Republicans expected a tsunami. What they got was a trickle. They did not get a tsunami. President Obama, when he in 2010 described what happened to him as a shellacking, President Biden was not shellacked. It is possible that Republicans will get the House. It is very likely that Democrats will hold the Senate. They thought they just going to have it all, and they don't. It's all going to come down at some level. There are three states that we're all looking at. We're looking at Nevada, we're looking at Arizona, and, of course, we're looking at Georgia. Georgia is already in runoff mode. There are less than 50,000 votes separate the front runner, Senator Raphael Warnock, and Herschel Walker. And as somebody said, I think it was Jamal Bryant, don't nobody want to walk in. We don't want to walk in. You know, we want to win. So I got to credit Jamal with that. That was right on time. Anyway, it does come down to Georgia. Already, the Democratic Senatorial Campaign Committee has pledged $7 million to Warnock. And on the other hand, Mitch McConnell and Brian Kemp, the winner of the gubernatorial race, he beat Stacey Abrams by over 300,000 votes. We all were heartbroken about that. But Kemp and McConnell have combined their forces to help Herschel Walker. Now, I don't know where somebody can find a more ignorant man, but we're not going to deal with that.
Yeah.
But in that case, moving right along, what one of our takeaways from this is that Democrats really dropped the ball. If they had put a little more money in a couple of races, there was plenty of money in the Warnock race, but Mandela Barnes of Wisconsin lost by a very small amount. Milwaukee did not turn out. Milwaukee, mostly black, did not turn out. Why was there not more Democratic money on the ground game? Similarly, in North Carolina, where Sherry Beasley, first black woman to really vie to be the senator from North Carolina, lost by 140,000 votes. That was just 3%. Had Democrats invested in her earlier, she too might have won. So we have to hold Democrats accountable. Many of us are Democrats. We love the Democratic Party, but the Democratic Party don't love us. And I'm going to let you about that a little bit, because I can spend my whole little time talking about, which I'm not going to do. In any case, what we talk about is anti-blackness in the Democratic Party and a fair blackness. They get these white boys who are consultants, and they want to run black people away from black. Black folks are the base of the Democratic Party. Repeat after me. Black folks are the base of the Democratic Party, and so we can't get around that. Now, right now they're saying that the Republicans are likely to take the House, but they may not. Democrats may pull it out. Either way, it's going to be so narrow that it's going to really require some very nimble kind of legislative work. On the Republican side, if they take it, McCarthy is scheduled to be the leader, but he has the far right, the MAGA crowd, and he's going to have to kowtow to them. On the Democratic side, first of all, we have to pray again for Nancy Pelosi and the recovery of her husband, and one wonders if she wants to put up with this anymore. I mean, does she really want to deal with this with everything else she has going on with her 82-year-old husband basically recovering from a skull fracture? But if she decides to stay on, understand that she will be challenged from the left, from the AOCs of the world. So it's going to be very interesting. We're not looking at two parties necessarily. Maybe we're looking at something closer to four. Now, let me go back to my hometown, or my somewhat hometown. I tell people I'm going home. They don't know where I'm going. They're like, I'm going to D.C., L.A., San Francisco. Well, let's call it L.A. and say that Karen Bass is holding tight with Rick Caruso, the multimillionaire who has outspent her 13-1. He has spent $100 million trying to defeat this woman, but at the end of the day on Tuesday, they were still 50-50. He had a few more thousand votes, like about 5,000 more, still 50-50, and the votes are still coming in from the mail-in ballots for early votes. So that's the same thing that happened in the primary, and she pulled it out. Let's hope it happens again. But it is challenging. This is a wannabe Democrat. He became a Democrat 3 days before he filed for mayor. So we have to keep that in mind. Now, meanwhile, I won't say back here, but President Biden is in Egypt, and he is COP27, is a climate change conference. He's being criticized by other people in NATO because they say the United States has not done enough. What they need to understand is that he can't do anything on his own. He needs legislation. I recall this. I was at COP15 years ago when Al Gore was there, and the people were criticizing President Obama. And we're like, he can't just unilaterally say he's going to do this. But young people especially are extremely concerned about climate, and we have to pay attention to that. How do we reduce emissions? This is a question that we have to keep asking. And the developed world, the U.S., the UK, France, Germany, we have done a lot of damage to our environment, and now it's time for us to deal with it. Couple more things. Twitter. So this fool has bought Twitter, and now he doesn't know what to do with it. Now he says he wants to declare bankruptcy. Well, didn't he know what the numbers were? He's supposed to be a genius, a multi-billionaire. The really big question about Twitter is, what does it mean to us? What we noticed in this election was an increase in the number of Russian bots, the number of people getting emails, crazy emails from people who have, if you got an email from someone, you'll know who they are, or a tweet, whatever, from someone you don't know who they are, they ain't nobody. This is tampering. Finally, because I know Lyndia about to play that music up under me. Finally, inflation went down. From a year ago, it's 7.7%. It used to be a couple months back, they would say 8.3. So inflation is looking better. But the sore points are the points that everybody feels in their house. That's energy and food. Food prices are up by 10%. We know what's happening with gasoline prices. They're going down, but they're still high. So this is a thing that we will have to deal with. President Biden is going to have to come up with some things to say we're handling inflation. And it's easier said than done. So that's it for me this week, Lyndia.
All right. Well, thank you. That was very good. Thank you so much, Dr. J.
Thank you, and thank you, brother, for all you do.
All right. All right. Now, listening to the Lyndia Grant Show, we're going to go to our commercial break. And when we return, we'll be talking to Dr. Frank Smith about Veterans Day and the African American Civil War Memorial and Museum. Tribute to the Black soldiers. Back in a moment.
Washington Informer religion columnist Lyndia Grant.
Ida B. Wells, born into enslavement, was a journalist and activist. An avid reader, she read through the entire Bible many times. Wells was once asked to leave the ladies' car and sit in the colored train. She refused, and train officials pushed her. Ida B. Wells retaliated, but was pushed off the train at the next stop. A crowd of whites applauded. She vowed to get even. 3 of her close friends were lynched for opening businesses that cut into profits of whites. Everything changed for Wells. She spoke out internationally against lynching of blacks for the rest of her life. Through her efforts, lynching in America nearly disappeared by the time of her death. And NAACP founder, we salute Ida B. Wells for Women's History Month.
Read more in the religion column of the Washington Informer, an award-winning African-American newspaper. We don't report crime or gossip, just positive news. Pick up the Washington Informer or visit us online at washingtoninformer.com. Call 202-561-4100 for more information.
If it wasn't for my care coach at AmeriHealth, I probably wouldn't be so healthy right now. As a man, we don't get checkups or see a doctor regularly anyways. It's probably just a man thing because none of my partners go either. We know we should, but we just don't, and hope it works out.
So what changed for you?
AmeriHealth assigned me a care coach, somebody that gives one-on-one help, answer questions, explain things, and help set my appointments. She also helped me understand what having high blood pressure really means and ways to manage it so it doesn't kill me. It ain't nothing to play with. If you're a member of AmeriHealth, ask for a care coach. I'm glad I got mine.
At AmeriHealth, if you need a care coach, you can have one. Just call us at 1-877-759-6224 to get connected. 1-877-759-6224. This program is funded in part by the government of the District of Columbia Department of Healthcare Finance. Mayor Muriel Bowser.
All right, we're going to talk to Dr. Smith. We're going to be talking to him. We didn't hear his Civil War Memorial commercial, but I'm sure she'll play it live. All right, Dr. Frank Smith is the founder of the African American Civil War Memorial and Museum, which is about 20-something years old now. I didn't get the statistics, but he'll tell us all about it. And I'd like to remind people that he is one of the original SNCC team, Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. Quite a few of them have died now, but he's still here and still going. So for those out there listening who's not familiar with SNCC, Dr. Frank Smith is your man. All right, I want to just go right on into it now. We just had our election, and he's also an expert in civil rights matter, working with Dr. Martin Luther King. Dr. Frank Smith is one of the last living legends from SNCC. Dr. Smith, talk to us about Veterans Day.
Well, Lydia, let me say I'm always happy to be on with you. You are a religious person yourself. You're a wonderful leader. You always speak truth to power. So anytime I can get on your show and have a conversation with you, I'm happy to be with you. Today is Veterans Day, and the African American Civil War Memorial, we actually call ourselves the guardians and protectors of 209,145 names of soldiers that served President Abraham Lincoln in the Civil War, who were fighting for their freedom. And so Veterans Day is a special day for us because these guys were left out of the history books for all these many years. They weren't talked about. The songs weren't written about them. Poems weren't written. But these family members themselves kept these soldiers in their hearts, and some of them kept their photographs, and some of them kept their love letters. And now we get to read some of those at the African American Civil War Memorial. So today is a special day for us. We had a relaying program today at the memorial. We always do on Veterans Day. It never rains us out. We always have it. And we started inside the museum this morning at 11, and about 11:30 we went outside, and the skies parted for us. The rain went away, and sunlight almost came out. And I said, "Thank you, Jesus." It never rains on the United States colored troops. So we had a wonderful presentation by a woman named Jan Adams, who's an African American woman who's retired from the United States Air Force after 24 years, and then she started her own business, and she was there with her daughter, she has one business, her daughter runs the other, and she gave a long lecture about women in the military, starting out with people like Harriet Tubman and others, and brought us up to today, to modern-day women in the modern-day military. So we had a good time out there. Now, you want me to talk about this election? I have to say a few words about that, and then I'll get back.
Yes, go right ahead. You're a snake man. You got to.
You're doggone right. Everybody knows I spent 5-6 years in Mississippi trying to register a few people to vote down there without getting killed. I was in a few of the jailhouses down there, marches and demonstrations, and thank God I was able to survive, come to Washington and get elected to the city council, and then raise enough money to build this memorial with. But Election Day is always special to me because my mother, who passed away 2 years ago, lived and died in Georgia. She was born there, her parents and great-parents. I'm the first generation to leave Georgia, and I'm the only one of my relatives, my siblings. The rest of them have lived all over the world. They're back there in Georgia now. So they got to vote in this election this week, and they did what they could to pull Warnock out, and they tried to pull out Stacey Abrams and for the governor down there. So I'm happy that we were able to do that, and as the speaker said earlier, we were able to not only elect people there, but all over the country. It wasn't nearly the gloom and doom people were talking about. Democrats run over and trampled, and the red wave was going to run us all out of the country, and all that stuff didn't happen. I never believed it was going to happen, and it did not happen. And so we live in a better country than people give us credit for being. So we're happy to celebrate Veterans Day with those soldiers today.
All right, that's good. Then now the next thing I want you to tell them about is two celebrations you got coming up. One is you're going to put a new monument in front of the Museum of Abraham Lincoln, sitting in a chair signing the Emancipation Proclamation. And I want you to tell them about the new museum we believe that's going to be open sometime next year before summer. Talk to us about both of those.
All right. Thank you, Lyndia, for that invitation. Yes, we are expanding the African American Civil War Museum. We've got a very large sum of money from the city government that we're spending to build out our exhibits to triple the size of our space. We got a 99-year lease that costs us about $100 a year, which I can afford. We're not rich, so we need a good deal. The city gave us a good deal. This mayor worked out a great deal for us. So we're going to expand the museum, but the first step you're going to see when you come by there, if you come by there now, construction is already underway. This construction that you see on the way is going to end up with us doing some work outside that's going to include changing the steps in the very front of our building at 1925 Vermont Avenue, and we're going to install that new statue that Lyndia spoke about of Lincoln signing the Emancipation Proclamation. Now, we don't want just another Lincoln up there. We want Lincoln doing something that was important to us. It was that Emancipation Proclamation that enabled paragraph 8 of that proclamation, that enabled these soldiers to get into the Union Army, to stand up for themselves, to go out on that battlefield and fight for their freedom. And let me say that 15th Amendment that was passed at the end of the war, that's the amendment that gave African Americans the right to vote. The reason why we could vote in all these elections that we were talking about, that Sister Malvo was talking about earlier, is because we finally got a piece of paper, got an amendment to the Constitution, took an amendment to the Constitution that these soldiers had to win on the battlefield. They give us the right to vote. And, of course, there's some places where they're still trying to take it away from us. But one of my brothers down there told me, he said, big brother, he said, I don't care where they hide these polling places, we're going to find them. If anybody else in Georgia vote, we're going to vote. He said, we got our fighting spirit on. We know what these people are trying to do. They're trying to trick us out of our votes. We're not going to have that. And so they went out and voted in record numbers. And they're going to do it again in this runoff.
All right. And so now, we're going to have a big celebration when you install the monument. We don't have a date, but we want to give them a warning that it's coming.
Absolutely. And you keep listening to Lyndia's show because, we always bring her back to organize these big events for us. She is an event coordinator, a professional event coordinator, and she'll be coming back to organize this big celebration for us. So, and she knows how to do it. She's an expert at this. She knows how to get these big crowds together. She knows how to reach all of these big government people, the president, the vice president, the mayor, everybody. So we bring her in to organize this thing for us. And we're going to bring her in this year. I already told the board. We're going to bring Lyndia Grant in to organize this thing for us, and because she always brings a blessing with her when she comes, and we need the blessing.
Yes. So he said he want to do two parts. First, he's going to celebrate the monument of the new Lincoln statue and close the street. So I'm excited about that, and then we'll do them inside.
And we're going to do that in the spring, in June of 2023. But we'll go before the holidays, before the Christmas holidays. We're going to have Lincoln in there. And we're going to have this first demonstration before the Christmas holiday. Stay tuned. We'll get the date to you as soon as we can, but it'll be before Christmas.
Oh, I thought that was going to be next year. That's more exciting. That's great.
All right. Yeah, this is a 2022 project we're working on here. We're going to say the opening of the museum for 23, but we got to close out 22 the right way.
Okay. All right. Well, let's let Anika play your commercial, and then we're going to give you your closing comment. Go ahead, Anika.
Okay. Thank you.
This is Frank Smith with the African American Civil War Museum in Washington, D.C., located at 1925 Vermont Avenue Northwest on the Green Line. Did you know that a recent study found that children who visit museums do better in school and in life than children who do not? So parents, teachers, and preachers, let's get moving. I promise you, if you bring your children to the African American Civil War Museum, they will be inspired by the images that they see. They will be impressed by our living history reenactors who are always available, and they will be involved in our scavenger hunt that takes them throughout our exhibit. That's the African American Civil War Museum, 1925 Vermont Avenue. Our hours are 10 to 6:30 on weekdays, 12 to 4 on Saturdays and Sundays. See it. Be inspired.
All right, Dr. Smith, go ahead and give us some closing comments, and then I have to give my close.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Lyndia. I'm always glad to be here with you. Just one correction from our commercial. We are closed for renovation at the moment, and we'll be opening up again in late spring, and, of course, have our grand opening in June of next year. But we do have a living reenactor who's at the monument every day, young man Marquette Milton, who's in uniform, and he's out there to lead tours and stuff like that. So come see us. And if you ask for me, I'm around. I'll come out there and shake your hand myself. Frank Smith, come to see us. Thank you.
All right. Well, we thank you for being our guest today for Veterans Day. That was quite a treat. All right. Thank you. So we'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thank you, dear. We'll be in touch. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye. All right. So I just want to say that next week, well, let me go to Facebook. Go to Facebook and follow us on Twitter. I'm not going to be too sure about Twitter. It's in the news. It's about to crash. But read the Washington Informer newspaper. This week, my column is called, Is America Trying to Go Backwards by 150 Years? And it looks like it wasn't. I wrote the column before the election. So I'm so happy that didn't happen. And then I want you to also give me a call if you have a topic of interest. Give us a call at 240-602-6295. November is National Diabetes Month. So today's tip, in memory of my mother, Fannie Estelle Hill Grant, who died from complications of diabetes, is use cinnamon in your drinking water to bring your A1C down. Every time I have my bottle of water all night long that I drink, I have cinnamon in it. No sugar, just water and cinnamon. And it will help bring it has benefits for the insulin in your body. So I wanted to give you that tip. And also I wanted to say exercise 30 minutes every day, eat more green leafy vegetables, and eat small amounts of carbohydrates. Do not eliminate carbohydrates totally. Your blood sugar will go down too low. All right. And then I want to tell you about our show for next week. Thank you for tuning in today. We're going to have Dr. Karen McRae, National President for Concerned Black Men, and my pastor, Reverend Dr. James Coleman, pastor of the All Nations Baptist Church. We will be talking about Men's Day at All Nations and ways to do just what his theme is for this year. Go get your brother. And our guest speaker for Men's Day is Sam Ford from WJLA TV. So we thank you for tuning in to the Lyndia Grant Show. Words, thoughts, and deeds have a boomerang effect. So be careful what you send out. Scripture says, my people perish for the lack of knowledge. So think on these things from the Lyndia Grant Show. I'm your host, Lyndia Grant. Until next week, think on these things. Good day.
Thank you for listening to the Lyndia Grant Show. Think on these things with your host, Lyndia Grant.